So thank you for giving me the opportunity to introduce you a bit the problems that we have had in our museum. So I have been working with doing some provenance research some years back while completing the collection catalogue of our museum. That was published in 2012, and also in curating the collection of Johannes Mikkel, a private collector who collected his antiquary collection during the Soviet regime and donated it to the museum in 1995. And I maybe wanted to kind of share my experience in kind of frustration while doing it, because we really have very little information and paper documentation on our works. And there are, of course, historical reasons for that, and I give you some dates. Estonian Republic was established in 1918. Estonian Art Museum was established in 1919. And some background historical events: 1917, the Russian Revolution started. 1918 until 1920, we had the War of Independence going on the soil of Estonia, and then in 1919, the land reform was initiated in Estonia, stripping Baltic Germans, the former landowners, of their main income. That resulted also in the situation where they were kind of obliged, or in the situation that they sold off their works. And more, during the Second World War, the museum building was bombed. It lost many of its work. But what is worse in the case of doing provenance research is that it lost also most of its archive. So after the Second World War, these works were newly listed in the museum collection that had survived. So this is the background information. And I now describe you some of the cases. So, for example, as I said, during the War of Independence, the special committees for rescuing art were formed that collected artworks that were left behind in neglected manor houses and housed them in the museum. After the war, most of them were returned as they were acclaimed, but there were some of the works that remained in the museum. And such cases, for example, the two paintings by Peter Brehel the Younger, or the studio of Peter Brehel the Younger, that bear also the inventory numbers of 1 and 2 in our museum. And when I looked into that, so it's difficult to kind of trace the ownership, but they were handed over by Eduard von Bago, and this Eduard von Bago was also the one who was on the board of ship Gutslov that sunk in the Baltic Sea in 1945. So that's probably the reason why these paintings were never acclaimed. And during the interbellum period, the museum collection grew intensively, and there was a larger collection that we received in 1926, when the Ministry of Education had purchased the so-called State Treasury collection and donated it to the museum. And this State Treasury collection is formed, as far as we know, in the connection of the repatriation campaign that took place in 1920. Estonia had gained its independence, and then Estonians working in Tsarist Russia, or then already in in Soviet Russia were invited to obtain Estonian citizenship and come to live in Estonia. And in the course of this process, the committee who helped to do that or facilitate that acquired a collection of about 100 paintings. And later they were given over to the State Treasury. I just pointed out also the backside of the painting in relating to the fact that we also, what we don't have, like that the paper documentation is scarce, but also like the labels and inventory numbers on the back of the paintings in our collection is also very scarce, as many of the paintings have been relined in the course of history and parketed. But among this body of works, there are some fortunate cases, which we can know, like where the paintings belonged earlier. This painting, painted by the studio of Gerard ter Borch, bears the two inventory numbers on the recto of the paintings. The red number refers to the collection catalogue of Franz Labensky, collection catalogue of Hermitage Palace, and the white number is even earlier. It refers to the collection catalogue of the Marble Palace, where this painting was in 1770s. So there are also collection catalogues survived, so it's possible to trace the paintings there. Yeah, and just to sum up that case, that we don't expect that Estonians who lived in Russia were very eager collectors of old masters, but it's more probable that paintings or other items were used as a currency, and when they sold their real estate there, they were paid in paintings, and they in turn paid in paintings for their moving costs. Yeah. And in some cases we do have some labels, for example with the work displayed here, which is actually part of the Tartu Art Museum collection, but as they only have a very little works, they deposited it to us. So the painting was with unknown provenance, but the label on the back gave us a clue that was possible to identify it with Moritz Reinhold von Grüdener, who was a landowner and manor owner of Neu-Suislep in western side of Estonia. And some 10 years ago, it was also fortunate that one colleague of mine found some 2 watercolor paintings from 1880s by Anna von Grüdener, who depicted the scenes from their home. So it was possible to see, so you have to just imagine it, that this painting shown here is also the painting that is displayed by the window on this dining hall painting. And there is also another watercolor of the same manor house, so that included several works that have reached our museum. For example, the pair of paintings by Jakob Gerets-Kärp. They were purchased by the Estonian Museum Society in 1940, and then the supper at Emmaus reached the museum in 1995 when the private owner Johannes Mikkel donated his collection. So this was a very useful information for us. And this Johannes Mikkel was manager of the commission shop that was opened after the Second World War. So this was officially the only commission shop that also included some works of art, and besides some other like decorative items and furniture. This wasn't the only shop. We also know that there was another antiquary shop active in 1940s, and in oral tradition it's called as a shop of tears. When I go to the archives, it's impossible to get like any documentation on the shops or inventories of list of works that they had there. Mainly only, maybe only some information on reparation works that took place at the venues. But people talk, and also I think the oral tradition and memories have been very crucial to reconstruct it. That this shop of tears was a place where works of art were taken that were confiscated from the homes of the people that were deported to Siberia. Since 1970s, we also have kind of budget to purchase artworks from owners to the museum. And this includes works that some of them have a longer provenance history in Estonia, like the portrait by Bartholomeus van der Helst that was published already in 1860s, and it had reviews in the local newspapers, and attended the several exhibitions that we had from 19th century onwards, so the collections of the local Baltic landowners. But it includes also works that we know practically nothing about, only the last owner, as the still life by Clara Peters. So there are many complicated provenances, and many works in our collection have a former history in Russia before the revolution of 1917, and also the period of 1920s. But unfortunately, it is impossible to do like collaborative provenance research with institutions in Russia currently. So we hope, or I don't know if we hope if the situations would change, but this is the situation. So what we are doing in our museum is that we try to be open, like we include this information in our labels and also audio guides showing what we know and what is the characteristics of our provenances of the works. And in doing so, we hope that it also helps to kind of understand better the historical circumstances that have governed in Estonia. So I don't know if I have, the time is up. Yeah? Yeah, so well, so this was the case. I thank you for that.